Socially awkward. Socially awkward. Let's go. Let's go. Yo, welcome to the Socially Awkward podcast. This is your boy Laurel Cole Mozak. We're here to learn the keys to relationships and connections in a virtual world. Yo, what's happening? How y'all feeling today? Today I feel good. As you can tell, I'm up bright and early. I'm ready to roll. So this is this thing, man. There's this thing. Every time I see something that's really good, when I get to a restaurant or my wife cooks something really well, like phenomenal, like tonight, she cooked me some salmon. She put salmon in the air fryer. Oh my God. Salmon with some asparagus, or was it green beans? And some jasmine rice. Y'all, I'm trying to tell. It was so good it was good to me. I'm telling you, it was good to me. And so every time I have something that I know is gonna be good to me, I say, I'm ready to dig. I'm ready to dig. That's my thing. So today I'm ready to dig because I got some fire for you today. But first things first, I need you to like, subscribe, comment, leave a review. I need to know if I'm doing good or not. I need to know if this is blessing you or not. Today is going to be a nice little topic. I think it's going to bless your soul for sure. But I just want to get a temp check. Y'all still good. There's a lot going on in the world, but I need to know that my peoples are doing well. So I hope everyone's having a wonderful week thus far. And I pray that it gets better as the days and the week goes on. So today I want to talk about something interesting. I want to talk, and it came to me because there's some things that transpired this last week or this over the weekend uh, that troubled me, and I want to talk about who has your attention. Who has your attention? This week it started off amazing already for me. Um, our new nanny started this week. If you didn't know, we've been looking for a nanny for a very long time. We finally found the nanny for our two boys, twins, Casey and Kylo, Kay and Kai, my two boys, my two kings, young kings. We finally found a nanny so that we can actually continue working without distraction. Not to say that my kids are a distraction, but it's hard to work. It's hard to work when your boys are tugging at you every 2 seconds. It's hard. Like, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but for me, I feel like it is very, very hard to be focused, to be fully engaged when your children are needing you to be engaged with them as well. They're at an impressionable age. They're going to be 2 years of age this month. And so they need all of our attention. They need all of somebody's attention. You know what I'm saying? And so they're waiting to learn. Kai, he'll go to sleep singing his ABCs. Casey will go singing, counting his numbers. Like, these boys, they're learning and they're wanting to explore so much. And I feel like I don't want to give my sons a disservice. My wife and I, we don't want to give our sons a disservice by just giving them, enough. But I want them to have all of it. You know what I'm saying? And so we hired a nanny to be able to take care of them during the day while we work, while we get things done around the house, while I'm trying to tell y'all, it's so hard to be a full-time father, full-time business owners, you know what I mean? And, full-time husband, you know what I mean? Make sure my wife got to be taken care of. It's difficult sometimes to be able to manage and to juggle all those things because all of those things equally need our attention. And so I want to talk about who has your attention because it's hard for me to fully engage in one thing when my attention is on something else. It's really hard for me to fully engage into a project or into my work or into my children if my attention is not on that thing that I should be fully engaged in. And I wanted to talk about this because I feel that it's important that we do not lose our focus on what's important in our life. Because oftentimes we can get ourselves caught up in different things that is not a priority. I was talking to one of my guys, like, sometimes you got to name your priorities. You have to name them, you have to number your priorities. Like, okay, priority number 1, priority number 2. Like, let's say if you have 5 priorities, well, list them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, 5 is probably going to be kicked to the curve. 4, we may have to consider it. 3, you put it on your calendar. Two is is close to high priority, but one is what I need to take care of right now. And I had to learn this at an early age when I was working in higher ed. I had a manager, Liz. She was amazing. She really helped me understand the importance of your priorities and blocking out schedules and blocking out certain things to make sure that your attention on a specific project has your full attention. You know what I mean? Making sure that you have all of your resources available, that you are zoned in, focused on that specific project for that time. Once we realize what's our first priority, nothing should be able to distract us from fully engaging in that priority. And what happens is, since we don't prioritize, since we don't block out schedules, since we don't organize our time and organize our specific projects, what happens is we're easily distracted and easily pulled away from that very thing that should be our first priority. It's easy. It's so easy to do it. I do it almost every day almost. But I learned to prioritize the very thing that I need to do at that moment. Once that thing is done for that moment, I can go to priority number two. I can go to priority number three after that. And then the next day, I start it all over again. What's my priorities for the day? What's my priorities for the week? If we do not prioritize, we will get distracted and we will not be able to fulfill the task that it is that we should be able to fulfill. And we won't put 100% in it because our mind is somewhere else. So how do we do it? Prioritize, organize your time, organize your priorities. Who has your attention? And so I was thinking about the Travis Scott situation. And I think it's just sad. There's been a lot of different people talking about the concert and how it was demonic and how it was crazy. Folks were going, people were dying, people were getting. I just read that somebody was getting overdosing on pills. They were actually injecting people with needles, and it's just a lot going on in that specific. In that concerts and these festivals, there's a lot going on, and it just brought to my mind, man, these artists and these events has people's attention. For people to be able to want to on the stage and want to run over people and to kick down things and to rave, for people who want to do that, you have to be mighty distracted from what's important to be able to do something like that. Because to be honest, I think it's kind of dumb to do because right now you're risking your life and others. And if we actually prioritize what's important in our life, we'll know, okay, raving, you know what, this is probably not a priority. This is probably something that I'm seeking because I'm distracted. You get what I'm saying? Because God does this. He says this. God does things decently and in order. He is also not the author of confusion. And so, if God is not the author of confusion and he does things decently and in order, that means God knows how to prioritize. That means God knows that we can oftentimes be distracted. We can be distracted from what's really important. And if that's the case, and he tells me he's the God, he's not the author of confusion, that means I should go to him so that I won't be confused. And that in everything that I do in my life should include Jesus because he's not the author of confusion. If he does everything decently and in order, then I should be following him so that my life can be done decently and in order. But a lot of times, man, we're just so distracted. We get so hype about what's hype. You know what I'm saying? We get so excited about what's in. We get so excited about what's trendy. And a lot of us, we find ourselves in compromising positions. We find ourselves in compromising positions because we're distracted. Distraction. It's simple. Like I was reading about David in the Bible. How David goes and sees this woman named Bathsheba, and folks be like, "I don't read the Bible like that because it ain't, it's not interesting to me." You crazy? The Bible got a bunch of like stories in there that's just, yo. I'm talking about It is the greatest drama of all time. Literally, the greatest drama of all time. Especially if you read it right. If you read it right, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So I want to talk to you about the story about David and this girl named Bathsheba, this young lady. Apparently, he goes on a balcony. The Bible says he goes on a balcony and he sees this woman bathing. He's watching this woman bathe. But this woman has a husband. He he says, you know what? Her husband is in war. Um, Give me Bathsheba. I want that. Give me that. I'm gonna pause right there. A lot of us, we get distracted by wanting things that's not even ours. We'll want stuff. It's crazy. We'll want stuff that's not even for us. We'll look at somebody else's promise and say, you know what? Give me that. I want that. You know, we look at somebody's anointing, we be like, yo, that's the one I want right there. We look at somebody's wife, yo, she fine. I'm about to get that, bro. She's married. Nobody cares today. Folks don't be care. I realize people just don't care. They want what they can't have, and if they can't have it, they'll try to take it. Why? Because they're distracted. Watch. So David is looking at Bathsheba, a woman that is not his. Goes into her, has sex with this girl, go crazy, right? She gets pregnant. I'm trying to tell you, the Bible's crazy, y'all. The Bible's this is real life. David goes in, sees Bathsheba. She gets pregnant after he goes into her. He tells her husband Uriah. He says, "Hey, in his mind, I just realized I got your wife pregnant. Can you come back and sleep with your wife? Just I know you're in war right now, but hey, I'm gonna give you a break. Go on, you know what I'm saying? Tap your wife home, you know." Uriah, he's such an outstanding man, such a noble man. He says, "What do I look like? Being able to enjoy the pleasures of my wife while other men are dying in war." Noble. He said, "Oh, he doesn't do it." David's like, "Okay, I gotta do something because the timing got to be right. The timing got to be right." So bring Uriah to the palace. So he gets Uriah drunk. He thought that by that time, if Uriah is drunk, you know, yeah, that sloppy sex, drunk sex. You know what I'm saying? Uriah doesn't. He sleeps on the porch. David's fed up at this point. He says, "You know what? Go on, take him. Go on, take him to the front line. We already know what's gonna happen. Go on, take to the front line, um, and report back. Basically, go on, kill this man. I'm gonna go ahead and kill this guy. I'm not going to intentionally do it, but I'm going to intentionally allow him to die in the front line." So Uriah dies. He takes Bathsheba, and you know that's his wife now. God doesn't stop. He says, "Because you did this thing, I'm going to take your son." So he takes the son. David still honors God, though. I want to say this because I think it's important to understand the reason why David was distracted was because he wasn't in position. David is the king. He should have been out at war with all of his other guys, but he decided to stay home. Why? I do not believe David just randomly went to the balcony and saw Bathsheba. I believe he knew that there are a woman bathing that he could see from the balcony. Or else, why would you just not see her when everybody else is around? Because what happens is we are most easily distracted in private. If the devil can get us to a place where we're isolated and we're secluded from everyone else, that's where the most danger takes place. That's where the most temptation arises. That's where the most distraction. That's where the devil can get our attention away from what is important. David's first priority should have been war, leading his men to victory, leading his men to battle, leading his men. But instead, he was out of position, ended up on a balcony seeing something that he should not have seen because he was out of position. Your position is predicated on what you're attentive to. I'll say it again. Your position is predicated on what you're attentive to. If David was in position, he'd be attentive to war. But because he was out of position, his attention went elsewhere. Because I have a strong belief that most people, we don't want to sin. We don't really want to mess up. We really don't want to do evil. We really don't want to. But because we live in the flesh, sometimes it just happens. But it only happens most times in secret. It only happens when nobody else is around. It only happens when we're out of position and we're distracted. Who has your attention? Who has your attention? Don't get to a place where you're so stuck in doing what you want to do that you lose out on your blessing. See, David lost his son. He there is a consequence of the law. I tell people all the time, like, why do bad things happen? Because there's a consequence of the law. Sometimes things just happen. Like if I run a red light, the consequence of me running a red light was either I'm gonna get a ticket or I just may hit somebody or somebody just may hit me. There's a consequence to the law. And sometimes we don't understand that when we are out of position, oftentimes we fall subject to we fall subject to the law. And we have to face the consequence of that law, whether good or bad. But most times when we're out of position, it's a bad consequence that follows. So we have to understand that. I think it's important. Another example, I would go with in Judges. The Bible talks about Samson. How Samson was a mighty man. Like Samson was one of the strongest men, in the world at that point. Like he was a judge. He was leading his, the children of Israel. Like he was that guy. He was that guy. He was like the Shaq of of their time. You know what I mean? Like Shaq was the most dominant big man, of all time. I'm telling you, the most dominant. I didn't say he was the best center. He was the most dominant big man of all time. I feel Shaquille O'Neal. He was like the Shaq, of their time. The most dominant man that can just kill off anybody. I find it interesting that when Delilah took his powers, rather cut his hair when he was left with nothing, and then he was shackled and he was held captive. They took his eyes. I feel like it was a good thing and a bad thing. They ripped off this man's eyes where he couldn't see anymore. It symbolizes something. If I take his eyes, he can't get to his promise. And a lot of us, the devil is taking our eyes spiritually, where we can't figure out what our purpose is. We can't figure out how to get to our destination. We can't figure out who we are in God. We can't figure out our identity. Why? Because the devil is taking our eyes. We become distracted. Samson was distracted, but he took his eyes, and they thought that if they took his eyes, that he wouldn't be able to see. Because if you can get to a man's eyes, you can stop him from reaching his purpose. If you can get to a man's eyes, you can stop him from reaching his promise. You can stop. That's why horses have blinders on, because the moment you take those blinders off, they everywhere. They ain't walking straight. They to the side. They're wavering. And what God wants us to do, he wants us to have blinders on so that we can only see him. Because if we see him, then all things follow decently and in order. But who has your attention? See, with Samson, Delilah had his attention. He was distracted. See, it's always some girl. You know what I mean? So David had Bathsheba. Samson had Delilah. It was always some girl just in the way. Just in the way. Lust. The lust of the eye, man, it's a distraction. Who has your attention? When people were storming the Capitol, why would you want to? Who has your attention? What is first priority for you? I can tell you, as a married man, as a man who has a family, my first priority is my family. As a single man, your first priority really is you. Making sure that you're whole and ready to be able to provide for your family, to be able to emotionally support your family, getting you together, making sure God is in the center. Like, we have to really dig deep and understand, like, what is it that God wants me to focus on so that I can be the most productive me I can be, so that I can be the most successful man or woman that I can be. Who has your attention? And a lot of times when God has us go through certain things, we look at the method in which God has us going through. We look at the process. We look at how ugly the process is, how God is refining us, but it's never pretty. When God refines us, sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's grueling. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. We look at the method that God is doing, but we don't look at the miracle. We don't look at the end. We don't look at. We're so focused on the method, but we don't focus on the miracle. And when we focus on the method, oftentimes we become distracted because we don't want to focus on the pain. That's why we run away from it. Yo, we don't want to focus on our struggles, right? That's why we run away from it. We don't want to stay present in the moment of God refining us because it hurts too bad, right? I don't want to focus on my father dying. I don't want to focus. I don't want to grieve that. So I move on. I do other things. I don't stay present there. I don't ask God to help me heal from that there. And so I run away from the void. I run away. I'm distracted. I need distractions. And the one thing that I was really good at is being distracted when 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 emotionally I knew I was unraveling. I would just distract myself to do other things instead of staying in that moment saying, okay, God, teach me how to handle my body emotionally. Teach me how to handle pain. Teach me how to handle discomfort. Instead of sitting in that moment and allowing God to refine me, I moved on to other stuff. I was like, no, I'm busybody. Like I gotta do music. I gotta practice. I gotta be in production. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta holler at this person. You know what I'm saying? Like at the time, I gotta holler at this girl. I gotta do all this other stuff. Distracted, just always distracted instead of saying, okay, what's my priority? God, where do you have me focused at? What needs my attention right now? Because God, I need you. You have my full undivided attention, but what do I become attentive to so that I can be healed, so that I can grow? We got to learn to stop being so distracted because we're so focused on the method, and we should be focused on the miracle because God is trying to do a miracle within us. And with that method, with that process, it takes time. It takes time for a seed to grow. It takes time. It has to go buried underneath the ground. It got to be watered. It has to go through this process in dirt in order for it to sprout out of the dirt to grow into something beautiful. It takes time. It's ugly. It's an ugly process. So we can't focus on the method. When we focus on the method, we get distracted from the miracle. God, you're doing it this way. Well, maybe that's the way that it has to be done for you. Well, the other person, they went through it and they, well, that person going through it is not, it doesn't, it's not going to have the same miracle that you have. It's not going to have the same promise that you have. So we got to stop coveting other people. Distractions. It's distractions. We focus too often on how God is doing things instead of, you know, what God is doing. Well, how is He doing it? Instead of what He's doing. What is He performing? A miracle. How is He doing it? Well, maybe spitting on the ground and putting stuff in your eyes, putting spit in your eyes, so that you can see. You remember that Bible story where there's a man who was blind and got spit in his eyes? That was nasty. Oh, it was nasty now. I don't spit in my eyes. It was nasty. We focus on if I hear somebody, that's a method. I'm focused on how He's healing me instead of what He's doing. He's healing me. We gotta understand that it's not about a lot of times. It's not about how God you take me through whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna serve you anyhow. I'm gonna serve you anyway because I'm focused on what you're doing instead of how you're doing it. I trust you in the how because I know the what. I know what you're doing in me. I know how you're refining me. I know how you're making me over again. I know how you're healing me. I know. You get what I know. I know what you're doing. It doesn't matter to me how it's done, but what matters is what you're doing. Because I focus on how. If I hear that spit, oh, I'm distracted. Oh, hold on now. I heard. I might be blind. I heard some spit. What did I hear? What did I just hear? Now I'm distracted. Now I'm distracted. Who has your attention? What has your attention? We have to be cognizant of that. We have to understand that each day in our life, we have to be sure of what God is doing in our life. That requires patience, that requires prayer, that requires understanding who he is by getting connected in the word. That there's a whole different requirement when you're really wanting to live for God. There's a whole different meaning to it. Like if I'm gonna say I'm gonna live for God, that means I gotta go through some things. I gotta learn him. I gotta get connected to him. That way when I'm actually going through those things and I'm going through the method, going through the process, I'm not focused on how. I'm not worried about getting distracted, but I'm focused on what God is doing. And some of y'all, and for some of y'all, that's the turning point in your life is that you just figured out, you know what? I just figured out the key to my healing process. Focus on what is he doing? Oh, God is healing me. Oh, that's where that pain comes from. God is growing me. Oh, that's where that discomfort is. He's growing me. Oh, okay, cool. That's why he told me to leave old girl. Got you. Because a lot of times we get distracted. We get into these relationships. I was one of them. I was in a relationship, you know, almost darn near 4 years. Off and on, distracted, distracted. After that, going from girl to girl, distracted. Finding myself in positions that I should not have been in, distracted. Not focusing on school. I graduated, yes, honors, great. I was still distracted. I was in class barely doing anything. Y'all not talking to me, man. Yeah, I'm just trying to be real. I just want to be real. Listen, I've been in class distracted. You know what I mean? Like, y'all, distracted, man. Our attention just not in the right things because we haven't prioritized our time. So that's my question to you. My quest for you is to figure out your priorities, number one, to figure out who has your attention. And don't get caught up in what media is telling you to be caught up in. Politics. I was at a point so caught up in politics it just didn't make no sense. So why am I so caught up in this stuff? Is God in it? All right, you know what? Why am I so caught up in what everybody talking about? Is God in it? Guys start asking those questions. Is God in it? Distracted. I'll say this one more story. I'm gonna let y'all go. Listen, so my wife told me the other day. I think it was yesterday. She had me watching a TikTok video about parenting, how different ways and methods you can parent your child. And so I'm watching a TikTok video, and I realized that I was still watching it. That means it was going on for too long. Now I thought this is maybe I'm out of touch. I thought the TikTok videos were maybe like 30 seconds to a minute, kind of like Instagram, a minute. I said, how long is this video? I'm still watching this thing, baby. How long is this thing? I don't know. I mean, I stopped a long time ago. So you mean to tell me you have me watching 2-3 minutes of this thing? How long are TikTok videos now? What, 3 or 5 minutes? 3 to 5 minutes? I had no clue, but I was watching this thing. I was just there. It had my full attention. It wasn't until I thought about how long I was watching it that I totally missed the message. It wasn't until I thought about, man, this is a long video, that I just totally forgot about the message. Kind of like Jesus when he saw, kind of like Peter, I'm sorry, when he saw Jesus walking on the water. He said, yo, I'm about to come get you, God. I'm about to come where you are. I need to be where you are. He gets out the boat, walks on the water to Jesus, and then he realizes, wait a minute, I'm in the water. Hold on now. Hold on, there's ocean. This is ocean. Oh, this is a big lake. Hold on, this is water. And then he gets distracted. He begins to drown and cries out for help. But he only cries out for help because he realized he got distracted. We have to be sure of what is holding our attention. What is important in our life? Once we figure out what's important in our life, nothing should be able to rock our attention. Like nothing should be able to distract us. Nothing should be able to, deter us from reaching that mission and reaching our goal, reaching our purpose. Because the devil, he'll try to take out your eyes because he doesn't want you to know who you are. He doesn't want you to see your purpose. He don't want you to see and envision where God is taking you. He doesn't want you to envision the miracle he's working on the inside of you. He'll take out your eye. He'll try his best to take out your eyes. But that's why it's important to lean on Christ. Because he will he will give you his vision. God will give you his vision for your life. My wife says this perfectly. He gives your heart desires. He'll give you the desires of your heart. He gives your heart desires. You don't have to worry about a thing because God has already given it to you. Even if the devil takes out your eyes, God has already instilled in you who you are, what you're going to do, what you are. So you're not led. You're not led by just your eyes. You're led by the Spirit of God. Oh, y'all, this is a heavy one. My bad. Yo, it's a heavy one. But I think it's helpful. I think it's something that definitely we need to talk about. Like, you know, with your family, with your friends, like who has your attention? You know, and how is that affecting you? How is that affecting you? So ask yourself that question. Ask your kids that question. But who's has your attention? Ask your wife, babe, who has your attention? You know what I mean? Like I realize you ain't being really on me. Who has stuff like that? Who has or what has your attention? I'm gonna leave that with you. Again, I really hope this blesses you. And if it did, leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. And till next week. Next week, oh, it's gonna be a treat. I think my wife on next week. Yo, I got my wife on next week. We're gonna talk about something good and juicy. So I need y'all to be prepared. My wife, Wanda Mozak, will be on with me. And then I got another guest coming. His name is AJ Washington. So it's gonna be lined up, y'all. This season, I told y'all, season 2. I ain't playing with y'all, man. God is not playing with y'all in season 2. It's gonna be good. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, leave a review. If you're listening to the podcast, listen, leave a review. It means a lot to me so that I can know what I can do better, what you want to talk about, what you want to hear from me. And on YouTube, leave a comment. Let me know if you like it. Tell me if there's any other topics that you want me to tackle, because I'm gonna be on here every week. I ain't playing with y'all. Consistency is key. So I'm prioritizing my time. So, yeah, man, I hope this blessed you. And thank you for listening to the Socially Awe-kward podcast. Peace. Socially awkward. Socially awkward. Let's go.